But this is a 15-year-old, and I want to share with you what I read from the obituary that I shared on the air yesterday, and that was the description: beautiful, innocent soul with a laugh that would fill the room. And so I think that although jurors certainly come to the trial knowing nothing and they have to hear the evidence and make decisions there, it's really hard, I think, to overcome the initial obstacle of no murder makes sense, but this killing just makes no sense.
Makes no sense whatsoever, Ashley. And we're in the business of misery, but this one just really hurts. You know, whenever you're dealing with the death of a child, much less the murder of a child, that's something that must be incredibly difficult for any juror to hear. And not only was this child murdered senselessly for really no reason at all, we really can't really find a clear motive here, but she was murdered at the hands of her mother's boyfriend. So what a terrible, terrible way for someone so young and so innocent to pass.
Does that make it harder, in your opinion, for the jury to follow along and understand what the state is trying to say happened?
Actually, it's certainly a lot easier when the state can put forth some sort of motive. Jurors want to hear a story, a reason why someone would do something so heinous. So that's something that the state is going to have to put out there because ultimately there's usually a motive in these types of cases. But we've covered them here on Court TV, and we've been able to see prosecutors successfully get guilty verdicts on these no motive cases. Most recently, the really tragic one out there in North Dakota that we covered just a few weeks ago.
Behaviors are causing him to be guilty of something.
Yeah, credibility is so incredibly important, and that was very powerful testimony there. I don't know if we're going back into court or not, but just having her describe him fake sleeping, being groggy, and his own testimony that we're going to hear, his statements that really his alibi is, well, I was at work. No, I wasn't at work. I went home to get drugs. So I think that's something that the jurors are going to have to look into in evaluating whether this particular defendant is guilty of murder.
The state is again hanging their hat on because he did give, he being the defendant, inconsistent statements about where he was, when he left work, whose car he was driving, where he went to get cocaine.
Oh, his story is consistently shifting, and that's something that the prosecution is going to hammer here. This is a liar. Here's someone who lies to law enforcement, and he's lying because he's guilty of murder.
Is this something that, you know, we now know that he is saying, he being her father, allegedly saying he's going to step aside, and he says it's because he loves his daughter, but yet all of those issues, if true, don't sound like a loving parent. What are your thoughts on the last minute?
Allegations are salacious. Jamie Spears secretly and illegally recording Britney. I mean, really unbelievable. But what's really also strange is that Matt Rosengart, Britney's attorney, has filed to remove Jamie as the conservator of her estate, but not terminate the conservatorship entirely. Meanwhile, Jamie has reportedly offered to step down. We don't know if those are for loving reasons or for other reasons. And he has filed a petition to terminate the conservatorship. So the whole thing is strange, and it continues to get more strange. These recordings are just the tip of the iceberg, Ashley.